Cowboys Nation, listen up, because what we're talking about today cuts right to the core of this team. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no pretending the issues are somewhere else. The truth is simple. Everything now rides on the Dallas Cowboys defense. Not the offense, not Dak, not the receivers, not the run game. The entire direction of this team is sitting squarely on the defensive side of the ball. Because let's be honest, this offense is good enough to win. It has the talent. It can move the ball. It can score. We've seen it. But every time this team gets dragged into a shootout, every time they fall behind early, every time they're forced out of rhythm because they're playing catch-up, everything falls apart. And that's not on the offense. That's on the defense that hasn't held up its end. And that's exactly the point being made here. The Cowboys don't lose because they can't score. They lose because they're forced to chase the game. They lose because their defense lets the opponent dictate the pace. They lose because they're constantly trying to claw out of holes instead of controlling the match on their terms. Stopping elite weapons like Brock Bowers won't come from one guy, and everyone knows it. Dallas doesn't have a single defender who can lock them down one-on-one. This is going to be a schematic job, not an individual matchup. That responsibility lands directly on the shoulders of Matt Eberflus. The pressure on him right now is enormous. And then comes the biggest question of all, one the fans are already asking. What happens if Quinnen Williams, one of the biggest acquisitions this team has made in years, doesn't perform? The answer couldn't be clearer. If a player that talented, that proven, that dominant doesn't look like himself in Dallas, the blame doesn't fall on the player. It falls entirely on the coordinator. Because a guy like Williams doesn't just get bad. If he isn't producing, it means he's being used wrong. It means the scheme isn't right. It means the system isn't maximizing him. And that circles right back to Eberflus. As for the offense, the message is equally important. Dallas plays its best football when it stays calm, when it controls the tempo, when it plays its game instead of chasing the opponent's rhythm. Every time they speed things up out of panic, mistakes start piling up. Missed assignments, forced throws, abandoned runs. And once the offense loses its identity, everything gets harder. And here's the part that really matters for this upcoming matchup. Opponents are converting fourth downs against the Raiders at an absurd 82%. That means Dallas has a real advantage in short yardage situations. 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Those are opportunities the Cowboys should be ready to attack. You can win drives, you can drain clock, you can control momentum. The numbers tell you the door is wide open. But the rushing attack is where the real battle lies. The Raiders are tough inside. They clog the interior. They slow down the run right at the source. And the biggest danger in games like this is Brian Schottenheimer giving up on the run too early. Because Dallas cannot afford to become one-dimensional. Not with Max Crosby waiting on the edge. Not with the right tackle spot already under pressure. When Dallas abandons the run game, the defense knows exactly what's coming. And that's when trouble starts. So the picture is clear. This is not a question of whether the Cowboys have talent. This is not about whether the offense can move the ball. This is not about quarterback play or receivers or running backs. It all comes back to the defense, to discipline, to structure, to adjustments, to whether the coordinator can elevate this group after weeks of inconsistency. Logan Wilson and Quinnen Williams weren't brought in for decorations. They were brought in because Dallas needed stability, intelligence, physicality, and leadership on defense. They were brought in because the season is slipping away, and the front office knows it. And now, everyone is watching to see whether this coaching staff can put the pieces in the right places and actually produce results on the field. And that's the real question for Cowboys fans right now. Does this defense finally turn the corner? Can Logan Wilson and Quinnen Williams anchor a unit that desperately needs structure? Can the coaching staff maximize the new talent instead of wasting it? And will this be the moment the defense stops dragging the offense into chaos? Cowboys Nation, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you trust this defensive coaching staff to make it work? And do you believe Wilson and Williams can change the identity of this defense? Drop your opinion below, hit that like button, and join the channel if you haven't already. The stretch ahead is critical, and we're breaking down every step of it right here.